Yeah, hi everybody. So in this video, we'll explain Azure governance. So consider the scenario where we have a company with multiple Azure subscriptions. So we currently have no control or visibility over any subscriptions, and we really need to control this. So how do you manage them? How do you keep track and control them within your environment? How do you stop the development team, for example, creating large VMs and resources in different regions? So we may only want a team to create the VMs and compute in a particular country, so we can make sure our cloud resources don't get deployed in the wrong region or country. This then keeps your data and compute in your chosen country for data sovereignty and compliance purposes. So Azure governance is based around a set of tools for the IT department to assert control over your Azure subscriptions, which contained all your resources within your organization. So it's inefficient to manage these separately, applying admin permissions to each Azure subscription. So what we use is management groups to give us the hierarchy where we can manage each subscription under this hierarchy and apply policy and role-based access controls to limit permissions. So let's take a look at the hierarchy within this environment. So at the top, we have the tenant root. So each Azure AD tenant is given a single top level management group called the root management group. Okay, so this group is built into the hierarchy to have all the management groups and subscriptions fold up underneath it. This group allows global policies and RBAC assignments to be applied at the directory level. This is placed at the top level within your tenants and manages all your subscriptions and resources. So all your policies and cost controls are applied at the management group level, giving departmental control. We then create child management groups under the tenant root to fit your environment. So for this scenario, we've created our company cloudinspired.com as our top management group under the tenant. And then we've created child management groups, IT and production on the right. On the left is an example of how we can expand this out for future by adding more management groups such as HR and sales, therefore splitting up our environment, subscriptions and resources so we can control each subscription by using policy. So here's a run through in this video what we're going to cover. So we're going to take a look at the creation of management groups from scratch, matching this diagram for production, adding the production subscription to the management group hierarchy. We're going to look at RBAC, role-based access controls, inheritance permissions, Azure policy, applying various policies to restrict virtual machine sizes and location where resources are deployed. We're going to test that Azure policy. We're going to look a bit at policy compliance and also the blueprints that are available. So before we get started, don't forget to subscribe to the channel to receive notification of cloud technical and certification videos posted weekly. I'll give you a moment now to hit the subscribe button. Thank you. So if we type management groups in search and go to the management group portal page. So if we click on management groups to create our first group, our top management group under the tenant. So in this case, as per the diagram, it's cloud inspired. So once we've created this under our tenant, we can see that we've got our management group there, our root management group, and we've got our subscription also outside that management group. We can also see we get a message that we don't have necessary permissions to access the root management group. So to resolve this, if we go to our Active Directory for the user requiring access and give permissions to manage. So now we can drill down and we can create our child management groups under Cloud Inspired. So if we create our first one as per the diagram again, which will be IT, and if we click Save. Now the last management group we will create within IT will be production. So this will hold our production subscription once we move it in a moment. So our management hierarchy has now been created. So what we need to do is actually move this production subscription, which doesn't belong to any management group at the moment, into our production management group. So let's just have a quick recap on what we've done. So we've created a management group at the top level under tenant called Cloud Inspired. Then underneath that, we've created a child management group called IT. And then within IT, we've created a child management group called Production. And then we've moved our production subscription to the production management group. So have a look at the RBAC permissions that we have currently. So if we go to the tenant root group, if we drill into IAM, which is role-based access control, we have a look at role assignments. We can see we've got user access administrator assigned to our account, and that's got root inherited permissions. Now that's assigned at the root level because earlier we went into Active Directory for the user acquiring access to give them permissions to manage at the root. So let's drill into the management group Cloud Inspired and have a look at the permissions here. So if we go into role assignments, so we can see here we've got our user access administrator. This is inherited from the root, and also this user is also an owner of the Cloud Inspired management group as well at the top level. So this will then propagate down to our child management groups we'll see in a moment. So we can see these accounts and permissions are also inherited down to the IT management group. So when we take a look at the last group here, production, we can also see that the accounts and permissions are also inherited down to the production management group. So that's how you control permissions to each subscription using role-based access control, giving users or groups permissions accordingly. So now if we can assign policy to the production subscription to limit it virtual machine size creation. So we could apply this policy to a resource group, but we're going to apply it direct to the production management group. So now if we choose our policy, if we search for SKU, and we choose the allow virtual machine size policy, so then we can just choose what virtual machines are allowed. So if we just choose a basic A0 to A2 at the moment. Okay, now if we create that policy. So if we create another policy now to restrict where VMs and compute are created, we don't want them created in a particular country, so we can restrict this to make sure our cloud resources don't get deployed in the wrong country or region. So if we search for location here, and then if we choose the allowed locations policy, and this is now also assigned to our production management group. So we can select our allowed location. So if we choose UK South and UK West. So that's now creating. Let's test this out in the next step. Okay, so we've got our policies that have been created. So let's try and create a virtual machine. Let's say in the US region, which is completely restricted. We can only create these in UK South and UK West. And let's just try and create a virtual machine size other than basic that we selected earlier. So if we try and create a standard D2 VM, so if we type the username and we type the password, Okay, once this is now validated, as you can see, the validation now fails from our policy that we applied. So we're not allowed to create that VM in these locations. And we're not allowed to create a particular SKU which is out of bounds of basic. So let's have a look at the compliance under policy here. So we can actually see that our two policies we created earlier are compliant, which they are. So no VMs exist that are out of our SKU or in different locations. And we also have a security center policy which is enabled by default, which checks to see whether all these policies are compliant as well, which is quite handy. So this is a really good place to be if we want to check our compliance within all of our subscriptions. And of course, when we create more policies, we can see whether they are actually compliant, and we can also alert on them too. So let's also take a look at the blueprints that Microsoft provides. So they provide these blueprints, which are basically set policies within that blueprint. So one of them is ISO 27001. So that contains a baseline policy of all your 27001 compliance. We can take a look now, so we can create this from the blueprint. So we can see these policies exist in here. We can also see we've got the allowed locations as well integrated within this policy, so we can change and add locations that we require as well to this one. And we can also add other policies that are not in this list to include within our compliance. So you can start with a blank blueprint template, or use one of the existing sample blueprints as a starting point to meet your requirements. So thanks very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel to receive notifications of cloud technical and certification videos posted weekly. Thank you very much for watching, and take care. Thank you.